Hello, everyone. We are back. It feels good for the 2024 or 2025 college football season. And this is one of the best feelings ever. Week 1 is behind us. Now, it's week 2 that is, you know, upon us. So, we are going to have a show today, Thursday, September 4th, and there is a lot to go over today. But let's start with the power index from ESPN. Now, here's the FPI. Anybody that knows anything about the FPI, it's not really ranking, it's just what is your, talent on the roster, and you can see a bunch of interesting stats here. Projected win-loss record, win-out percentage, 6 wins, win division, win conference, all of that fun stuff. So we're going to be looking at this. So the first thing that jumps out at you is I do not think that this is updated. I'm going to try to refresh. I don't know why it wouldn't be updated, because the AP has been out for multiple days now. I guess it's just not, so we're just going to have to live with that. I believe these stats are updated, though. That's what I believe. I think, yes, I think this is updated. Yeah, it definitely is. So, let's start out with team's projected win-loss record. It's organized by that. Of course, we have Ohio State in first, followed up by Penn State. In the model, if you've ever been on the site, the model really likes UNLV. That's who the model really likes. But above them, they really like USC. And now a lot of people aren't very high of USC. I haven't really seen much talk about them, but the FPI loves USC. You can see them. Look at all these stats. A 50%, over 50% chance to make the playoff, 10 wins. I mean, no disrespect to USC, but this team is just not. They are not that kind of material. Right, we haven't seen enough from Lincoln Riley, like defensively. This team is very shaky. We don't know their identity. They played, a nothing burger FCS school. So, I mean, you're kind of guessing at this point. I'd rather go with more solid teams like Texas, where you kind of know what you're getting. A lot of teams, you don't know what they're getting. Like, you look at all this, almost everyone here has a new quarterback. All the big-time teams on the screen do have a new quarterback, except maybe Penn State. Now, the win-out percentages are always very low, but interesting to see. I mean, it doesn't think any team is going to win out, which is respectable. I think a couple teams are going to be able to, maybe, actually, no. If you look at it, no teams are going to be able to win out. Because you look at it this way. The most dominant teams, there's no real super top dog at all this season. You got Alabama a lot of the time with Saban, but then Saban retires, and then you have Georgia for a little stint. Then they kind of fall off a little bit. They have Gunnar Stockton at quarterback now. And now you're looking at, okay, Ohio State's the number 1 ranked team in the country with a freshman quarterback. They have talent, but this is no 12-win regular season team. There's no real dominant team, and that's, I think, what's going to be the fun part of the season. No team is guaranteed to make anything. A lot of people have Ohio State missing the playoffs. A lot of people have Notre Dame, Texas, Penn State. The list goes on. A lot of people have Penn State winning the national championship. It's just defers so much. Whereas if it was 2018, you had a 12-team playoff, and you're looking at this before the season, you're saying to yourself, oh, Alabama's a lock for the playoff. They're going to be undefeated. At least come time for the SEC championship, then maybe Georgia can give them a bit of a challenge. But that's what's been so interesting. I think the transfer portal has kind of had a way of leveling the playing field when you're not looking at NIL. Of course, NIL is going to be a part of it, but you have all these big name schools that really, Ohio State can't just go out and get everyone because they don't have the money. I mean, you look at this, you don't have enough money to have a master class that Ohio State had. That no team can really get a master class in the transfer portal because you have other teams that always have more money than you. That's what it's gotten to. Now look at playoff percentages here. Of course, Ohio State's going to have the highest. They're leading in pretty much every single category. Let's look at some of the lower teams. We've looked at Ohio State. We've looked at Georgia. We've looked at. We haven't looked at actually. We pretty much only looked at Ohio State. Let's look at Georgia this year. 1-0, 45-point stomping of Marshall. Georgia's very good at that. Kirby Smart, Gunnar Stockton. You got a lot of guys. This is obviously a talented team. Every Georgia team, every Kirby Smart team is going to be talented. That's not the question. The question is, do they have what it takes with Gunnar Stockton at quarterback? And that's the question for like 90% of the top teams right now. Is at the helm, is their head guy going to be able to produce? That's what it is with Ohio State, Georgia, Texas, Ole Miss, everyone besides Penn State. And maybe there's a couple maybe others on this list. That's really not much of a question. I mean, Oregon, Ole Miss, Tennessee, even teams like LSU, Miami, South Carolina, teams that aren't really making a change at quarterback, but it still rests in their quarterback's hands. Teams like Florida would be a part of that. Now, let's go down, because there's probably the most interesting team so far is the Florida State Seminoles. They're probably the most widely ranked team, and it's not even close. This team goes into Alabama. If you watched that game, if you watched Florida State versus Alabama, you would see this is everybody. I mean, everybody was calling it out too. This is not a Nick Saban-led team. This is a Kalen DeBoer-led team. And there's a huge gap difference in that you don't have future first-round draft picks all over the field anymore if you're Alabama. And I mean, it's frustrating if you're a Bama fan. You're so used to this success for 15 years. You've just been win, win, win. You don't lose to unranked teams. That's just something unheard of in the Saban era. I mean, this stat has been thrown around so much. Kalen DeBoer has lost to 4 unranked teams, and that's as many as Nick Saban did in his career. That's a huge stat. That's just a crazy, crazy stat. But here's the thing. Bama fans want DeBoer fired, and that's where you draw the line. If you're an Alabama fan, what do you expect? Do you expect to get some kind of coach exactly like Nick Saban that's going to give you another 15 years of pure dominance in the SEC? You're not going to get that. That doesn't exist. There's no coach that can give you that. The closest one is Kirby Smart. and he's not even close to Nick Saban. It's two different worlds. He was worlds ahead of every single head coach. So you're not going to get another Nick Saban. Sure, there's probably better coaches than Kalen DeBoer, but just because there's better fish in the pond doesn't mean you fire him. I mean, you can try to get Kirby Smart, but he's probably not gonna want to go to Alabama. That's not how this works. Alabama, you have to realize, Alabama, you're not a top tier program. You're not that number one team every single week in, week out, just miles ahead of everyone else. That's not Alabama anymore. You're not that team anymore, and you have to just embrace that if you're a Bama fan, because those days are over. You're not getting them back. No matter who you hire, you're not getting them back. You can hire Sark. Nobody's gonna be what Nick Saban was, and I understand you don't want these 15 years to go to waste. You don't want this to do nothing for the program as a whole. You want to build off this. You want to have another good coach come in and be able to at least try his best to replicate what Saban was able to do. Kalen DeBoer is a great coach. He's just not Nick Saban, and that's the issue that Alabama fans have with him. And if you're expected to be Nick Saban, if that's the expectation for you as a head coach, you're doomed to fail. You're not going to come close either. It's just such so unfair for Kalen DeBoer. I mean, you got to feel for the guy. You lose a game against Florida State. If you're still head coach at Washington, so sure, fans are going to be upset, but they're not going to be rioting in the streets to losing to an unranked team. I mean, this is Washington. He's not used to this. No coach could fill Nick Saban's shoes. I don't know why people think that there's a coach in college football that could. No coach could come close. And that's my ticket on the game. So with that note, let's go ahead on the scores and let's review the rest of the game. I kind of already gave my little take. Let's go to week 1. This is when the chaos starts. Week 0, we've already heard everything about that. We don't want just top 25 teams. We want everyone. We want everyone to be in the mix. We want there to be everyone in the mix. We want to talk about everyone. Boise State, South Florida. This is a great game to start. Hold on. This is a perfect game to start off. Okay, so Boise State, South Florida. This is a game going to this. You didn't really know what team Boise State was, and you were kind of revealed of it. Early they go up 7-0, and you're kind of thinking to yourself, okay, Boise State, they might be able to, they're going to be able to, stand their ground without G&T. Madsen, he's still a good quarterback with or without G&T. He's a great Power 5 quarterback with or without G&T. And then it's 7-7, or 7-3, 10-7. And then you look at the other quarterback. And you're kind of looking, what is going on? This is not a game. South Florida, you have to win this game if you're South Florida, of course. And then you look, the next thing you see is the game is 24-7, flipped on its head. South Florida is about to get a ranked upset. And Boise State is just completely left in the dust. This is not this is a nightmare for Boise State. This is an absolute nightmare. South Florida goes and just eviscerates your team on every single cylinder, on every side of the football. They beat you on special teams, they beat you offense, defense. Your whole team got babied by a quarterback. People are putting him in the top 10 Heisman conversations, which is certainly an overreaction. But you got to be thinking, if you're a Boise State fan, what were you doing the whole offseason? What was this team preparing for? It's like they go up 7-0, they get their first scripted drive, which is what you always see in week one. You get one scripted drive, which is always the first drive. The coaches always script the first drive, and then you perform really well on that drive, and then it's kind of, okay, now we're on our own. Now what are we going to do? And a lot of teams flop, and that's what happened with Boise State. We saw that on Monday night, too, with North Carolina. Your first drive, if you're week one, your first drive, you're an OC, you want to set the tone. You want to set the tone for the season. And if you can do that, you like your chances a lot more. Boise State was able to do that, and then they just got eviscerated. There's no more script anymore. That's just an embarrassing loss for Boise State, and that's going to keep them out of playoff talk until they can really figure things out and start stacking wins. You're already way behind schedule. All right, ECU, NC State. A lot of people were picking this upset. This is kind of a rivalry. This game, NC State came out slow, but they were up 17-0 at halftime. They got up 17-0, and then ECU... actually, I'm looking at the box score. No, never mind. It was 17-7. Excuse me. 17-7 in the box score. And I watched this game. This was a good game, especially in the fourth quarter. NC State with a fourth down stop. This is a resilient team for NC State. This is a tough East Carolina team. You just want to get out of here with a win if you're NC State, and that's what you did. Sure, you might have wanted to win by a couple more, but at least you didn't lose 2 in a row to ECU, which is always a W. You got Virginia next week. Let's see what you can do there. If you can start 2-0, that would be a dream if you're a Wolfpack fan. Jacksonville State, UCF. Really briefly. UCF, I did not watch this game, but I guess just Jacksonville State, I think they were ahead, maybe? No, they were not ahead. But they definitely had a shot at this game. UCF, they're a bottom Big 12 team. What can I say? And that about wraps it up. You get Buffalo, Minnesota. I also watched that game. Nebraska, Cincinnati, I didn't watch much of it. But Matt Rule finally gets his close game a win. Always very nice. Friday games were kind of a doze, except for 2 games, and these were the 2 games that we were looking for, and they definitely delivered. Auburn, Baylor. Jackson Arnold might be the guy. This guy, he's just a great player. 137 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns. You're not going to be able to do this every game. If you're Jackson Arnold, you're going to get hurt. Something's going to happen, but this really sets the tone for Auburn once again. And if you're Baylor, you got to go back to the drawing board. You can't afford to make any mistakes for the next 4 games, because if you just, it's just a slip, you start 3-2, just mentally, you're so behind schedule. It's just so hard to come back from that. If you're Auburn, I'd say you're kind of ahead of schedule. This was a great game for Auburn. This was a dream game. If you're an Auburn fan, this is the game that you wanted. This is the game that you had in your dreams. You get a special teams return for a touchdown every single time. I think it was 24-10, Auburn was leading. Baylor would score. Auburn would answer. Baylor would score. Auburn would answer. Baylor would score. And then Auburn would answer again. Baylor was always kind of just on the tail, but they never made the move to take the lead or even a tie. And that's because of this resilient Auburn team, which can make noise. I'm surprised that they aren't ranked, because this is definitely one of the best 25 teams in the nation. And if you watched the game, you would be able to tell. Georgia Tech, Colorado. Georgia Tech, of course, 3 turnovers, 3 drives to start the game. Colorado getting 7 points out of that, and only getting 13 after that. This game, both teams did not look like this was their best football. But once again, you're Colorado. This was your game for the taking. This is a disappointing result if you're Colorado, because Georgia Tech was actively handing you the football game the entire first quarter, and you scored 7. But that was not nearly enough. You score 7 points off 3 turnovers. I mean, that's just... Caden Selter didn't really have a good game. Haynes King, of course, did his thing. We knew he was going to do that. So consistent. That's a good win for Georgia Tech. Let's get to the Saturday games. Don't want to waste any time. We don't have too much time left. Let me see where we are at this. Yeah, we are maybe 10 minutes. Let's fly through these games. Texas, Ohio State, the most important game. Arch Manning, 170 yards. He did not have 170 yards. I mean, mentally, he did not have 170 yards. I think he had 72 in the first 3 quarters, 72 yards passing. This was not a good game for Texas, not a good game for Arch Manning. You just got to tell Arch Manning, this is all nerves. This is all nerves. I mean, Arch Manning, you don't become a 5-star. You don't become a number 1 rated quarterback in the nation. And then you throw those kind of footballs. That doesn't happen unless, nerves. He stepped into Columbus, saw the huge stadium, saw the fans piling, and he kind of peed his pants. He hasn't really started a big game yet. And is it over for Texas? Heck no. No, it's not over. People that are saying Arch Manning is terrible, it's week 1. It's bad to make takes in week 1. They always just splatter by week 5. Coach Arch Manning finds a way to prove him wrong. Now, does this hurt his Heisman campaign? Absolutely it does. This is a terrible performance from Arch Manning. Don't get me wrong. It's certainly not over for Texas. And for Ohio State, Julian Sayin did not look bad at all for his first start. For the Scarlet and whatever, gray, whatever their colors, whatever you want to call them. For Ohio State, this is a good win. This is a good defensive lead. I mean, they just shut this very good Texas offense down, and a very, very good Texas running game down. A very underrated with Wisner. This guy can blow you up for big carries, and it really, 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 they didn't really have one. This guy is fast. They prepared really well for this game. Now, I think either of these teams are number 1, the best teams in the nation? No. I just don't think they're the best team in the nation right now. Now, they may prove me wrong, but as of now, I don't think so. LSU, Clemson. This game was a lot for both fan bases. This game meant so much for Clemson. Can you get this definitive win at home? Can Dabo Swinney get a win against the SEC team, which he hasn't done in 3 straight games? Can LSU finally start 1-0? Can Brian Kelly finally do it against a very tough Clemson and a very tough atmosphere? And I'll give them credit. They played great. This LSU team, it wasn't 17-10. The score does not resemble how close this game was. This game was not that close. It was not a 17-10 football game. Their offense looked a lot better than what the score shows. I mean, you look at the box score here. Clemson starts off 10-3. I mean, they shut them out in the second half. That's unacceptable. This Clemson run game, they could not get going this whole game. Cade Klubnik didn't look very good. His accuracy was very spotty. The receiving core, of course, Antonio Williams had a lot to do with that. They didn't look like one of the best in the nation. But this is a Clemson team. They're a good Clemson team. They'll find their way in the playoff, no doubt about it. Doesn't matter that they're their own one. They have multiple games to recover, but they do have to play Georgia Tech. I think that's week 3, so they only have one game to recover. That's an away game. And if you lose that game, if you're Clemson, that is a nightmare. LSU, I think this is one of the best teams in the nation, if not the best team in the nation. Garrett Nussmeier, he's a great quarterback. He's a great LSU quarterback. This receiving core doesn't have many holes in them. I know we didn't see much of Byron Brown much, which is okay. He'll make his mark. Very good game. Just a great atmosphere. That's what college football is all about. LSU gets the W. We talked a little bit about this game. We talked a lot about this game, but we're going to talk a little bit more. Alabama, Florida State. We talked a lot about Alabama, but what about Florida State? Thomas Castellanos. He looked sharp this game. I have not seen that in a while from a BC quarterback, or a former one. That was a great game from him, and he backed up his talk about Saban. This is a good Florida State team. Are they good enough for the playoff? Probably not. Because we don't know who Alabama is yet. We don't know. I'm not going to make any big-time takes on them yet. This is week 1. They could still go 7-5. The Florida State team could still go 6-6. Okay? They're not out the woods yet. Alabama, this is definitely a loss. Really just a deafening loss. This just tanks your playoff chances. Ty Simpson, I mean, this numbers may seem like he didn't really play too terrible, but it was a pretty bad game from Ty Simpson. A lot of drops by the receivers. I'll give him credit. Never really got the running game going well. But defensively, this Alabama team, Kalen DeBoer's got to say something. It's got to be motivating, or else this team will never recover. Okay. North Dakota, Kansas State. I mean, you gotta lock in if you're Kansas State. Honestly, I don't really want to talk about that football game. Syracuse, Tennessee. Tennessee played a lot better than I thought they would. This offense, they blew out Syracuse by a good. The score doesn't really entangle how bad this game was. It was certainly a Tennessee beatdown. It was a good old-fashioned Tennessee offensive, just mirage, Josh Heupel dialing up. Just everything is working for them defensively. I mean, maybe not as good as last year, which is really what worries me. But this is good news for Tennessee because your quarterback, he's not a bad quarterback, which is probably your worst nightmare. If going into this game, if you realized, I didn't mean to do that. But if you go into this game and it's like 14-10 at the end of the third quarter, you're in trouble. It wasn't. I didn't think that this Tennessee team would win by that much. I didn't think it was possible. I didn't think they'd stack 45 on them. That's the biggest thing. This is a good Tennessee team. I think the offensively, did they take a step forward with Yamalieva? I think in the quarterback position they did. Overall, I would say no. Because you have some weapons. What is going on with my computer right now? It is really misbehaving. Really one other game that I want to get into, and this is South Carolina, Virginia Tech. Sunday night. Or Sunday afternoon. This is a game that, this is one of those games, it's a Sunday afternoon game, that you kind of flip on. You see South Carolina first drive, scripted drive. We talked about this. Scripted drives, first drives of week one are always the best drives, maybe turning out of the year. They score, make it 7-0, and then the scoring just stops. It's 10-8 at the end of the third quarter right now, or at the end of the third quarter. Punt return touchdown, South Carolina scores. But this game, this is a close game. Kyron Drones, this Virginia Tech offense, they've had big plays, but they just have had them at the wrong time. They've had them very spread out. They haven't been able to stack two big plays, and that's the big thing. They haven't gotten into the end zone yet. They score another field goal, 11-17, and Lenore Sellers finds Nick Harbor. Biggest takeaway for South Carolina. You got to get the ball in Lenore Sellers' hands more. It's just, you have to do it. The guy should not have 19 passing attempts. I don't care how good your running game is. Lenore Sellers should never have 19 passing attempts. He should have a good 10 more. And I think that's why you were so slow in the rest of the first quarter, and the second quarter, and the third quarter offensively. It's because you didn't give him enough chances to go make a play. And at the end of the game, I feel like they kind of learned. Lenore Sellers gets the football when he wants the football. This is a good showing from Lenore Sellers. This is not a bad showing for Virginia Tech. The defensive line got 4 sacks. Wow. The last time I remember a defense getting 4 sacks on Lenore Sellers, I don't remember who it was. I don't know if it's ever happened, but this is an impressive showing. I wouldn't feel bad if I'm Virginia Tech if we're playing Vanderbilt. Because if you can get to Lenore Sellers, you can get to anyone in the nation. Of course, South Carolina's offensive line did not look good, but maybe it was just because Virginia Tech's offensive line was very good. And I know South Carolina's offensive line wasn't supposed to be bad this year. It was supposed to be a decent line. How could I forget? 2 more games. We're going to briefly go over them, and we're going to wrap it up here. A 30-minute stream as I'm looking at it. Notre Dame, Miami. This game was a highlight reel. This game was a complete highlight reel. CJ Carr looked good. Everyone looked good. This is not a bad sign for Notre Dame. You lost the game, but Miami played very well. Both teams looked very good. I didn't like either of these teams, but they looked good offensively. This looked like 2 good teams playing. This looked like 2 top 10 teams playing, and it's a good sign for both teams. Miami comes away with a win. Okay, if you're Notre Dame, okay, your schedule, it's not too difficult. You can come back 0-1. It's okay. Come back the next day, work your tail off. You'll find your way in the playoff. I promise. TCU, North Carolina, scripted drive, first drive. North Carolina gets up 7-0, and then the scoring just ends. It's a parade for TCU all night. Nightmare for Bill Belichick. This is an example of how if you hire a coach from the NFL to be a head coach in college, it's just a bad idea. It's not a good idea. There's 2 different worlds. College football is Neptune, and the NFL is Mercury. They're almost 2 different games. 2 different It's just completely different from recruiting to the actual game. You can't prepare for a NFL game like you will a college game. Vice versa, you're gonna lose both times. I mean, at the end of the day, that's just how it is, and we saw that with TCU UNC. They didn't have a completion for 2 hours. There was a 2 hour stretch in the game. They showed it on the broadcast. I was watching the game where Gio Lopez did not complete a single pass. You get Max Johnson in there, have a pretty good drive, get a touchdown. Do you start him against Charlotte? You definitely give him playing time, because who knows? He looked like the better quarterback. You have to let Gio settle in. That's his first, ever game. So I think you start Gio Lopez. You start Gio Lopez against Charlotte. And then maybe at the end of the fourth quarter, or just the whole fourth quarter, let Max Johnson play. And if Gio Lopez really, you just don't like what you're seeing, start Max Johnson. And until Gio Lopez proves you wrong, play with him. Is this a bad sign for North Carolina? It definitely is. Is it time to hit the panic button? No, not in week 1. Not when your expectation is about 7 wins. Your schedule is not a hard schedule. It's one of the easiest schedules. You can go back to the drawing board, and you can definitely get an 8-win season still. It's definitely possible, but you really have to hang on. You have to beat some good teams along the way. Bill Belichick really, really, really has to fix things before they have to start in conference play, because this will not fly in the ACC. I know it sounds a little silly because the ACC is not the best conference and it's not really near it, but this will not fly. Just like it's not in the Big 12. You just got 50 poured on you by TCU. Good resilience in the fourth quarter. This was a close game for a little while, but not for long. This TCU defense was legit. All the questions for TCU were kind of answered, and they were all positive. TCU, they got a chance for the playoffs. They definitely do. They toppled North Carolina. Their running game looked good, which wasn't really last year. Josh Hoover, of course, looked fantastic. Its defense, obviously, the score just goes to show you they looked good. Your leading rusher, I'm looking at it right now, you have 10 yards per carry. I mean, that's some great numbers. That'll do it for today. A 30-minute stream to kick off the college football season. We'll see you either Sunday at 2 o'clock or same time Monday to go over the games and maybe have a couple predictions. I was hoping to get to predictions today, but we ran out of time. It's already 9 o'clock. So I will see you next week. Thanks for tuning in if you did. And make sure to enjoy the games this week, kicking off tomorrow.